The text came through while I was standing in the dark. The apartment stripped bare behind me. My key already bent in half between my fingers. Rent goes up next month. Unless you help your sister. Family pulls together. The silence rang louder than the words. It tasted metal. My pulse didn't spike. It settled. That was the moment I decided they would never see me again. I stepped out, locked the door for the last time, and left everything they thought they controlled behind me. They thought this was leverage. They didn't realize it was a countdown. Weeks earlier, the pressure had started as a whisper, a casual suggestion over dinner, a look exchanged across the table. They never asked directly at first. They never do. They framed demands like favors and punishments like responsibility. My sister sat there exhausted, eyes glued to her phone while her child screamed in the background. No apology, no eye contact, just entitlement humming under the noise. "You're home more," my mother said, slicing meat with surgical calm. "It makes sense," my father nodded, silent agreement. He always lethier do the talking, then enforced the verdict. I paid rent. I bought my own food. I worked nights. None of that mattered. What mattered was proximity, availability, obedience. They had a way of turning proximity into debt. I sighed no. The air shifted. That's when they showed me who I was to them. The escalation was efficient, almost professional. They stopped asking and started calculating. Utilities suddenly itemized. Groceries tallied. Every kindness retroactively billed. My sister's need became my obligation. Her choices became my consequences. "You're being selfish," my mother said, voice sharp but controlled. "She's struggling." I watched my father adjust his glasses, already preparing the numbers. "If you're not willing to contribute with your time," he said, "we'll have to reassess your rent." Reassess, a word they loved. It sounded neutral, reasonable. It wasn't. They wanted me tired, financially cornered, grateful for crumbs. They wanted me twofold, to accept that my role was support staff in a family that never supported him. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I nodded. That scared them more than anger ever could. Inside, everything was screaming. Years off swallowed resentment clawed at my ribs, but I kept my face still. I learned long ago that silence unnerves people wholly on noise to dominate. That night, I opened my laptop and began doing something they never thought I'd do. I documented everything. Messages, threats, numbers that didn't add up, rent hikes that violated local ordinances, texts that spelled out coercion with polite emojis. I found the lease. I read every line. Then I read the law. And then I planned. They assumed I was trapped because I was quiet. They assumed wrong. The confrontation came disguised as another family meeting. They sat across from me, confident, already victorious in their minds. My mother folded her hands. "So, have you thought about it?" I met her eyes, calm, measured. "Yes." My father leaned forward. "Good. Then we're agreed. No, I said. The word landed heavy, final. My sister scoffed. "You're being dramatic." I slid my phone across the table. "Raising my rent to force unpaid childcare is illegal," I said softly. "Here's the statute. Here's your texts, here's the lease you forgot I signed." Silence. My father's face drained first. He reached for the phone, hands unsteady. "I've already sent copies to an advocacy group," I continued, "and me employer in case you try retaliation." My mother's mouth opened, then closed. For the first time, she had nothing rehearsed. "You wouldn't," she whispered. I stood. "I already did. I left before they could recover." That's the thing about control. It only works if you stay in the room. By morning, I was gone. No forwarding address, no explanations, just an empty apartment and a broken routine. The fallout was immediate. My sister called first, then screamed, then begged, then accused. My parents followed. Voicemails stacked like debris, panic seeping through every message. Childcare costs money. Turns out, so does entitlement. They scrambled, fought, blamed each other. The structure they'd leaned on for decades collapsed under its own hypocrisy. The advocacy group contacted them formally. The tone shifted overnight. They didn't threaten anymore, they negotiated. I didn't respond. Months later, the silence became permanent. My parents stopped calling, shame as a way of sealing mouths. My sister moved closer to someone else she could lean on. I heard through distant channels that things were tense. I smiled at that, not because I wanted them to suffer, but because I had finally stepped out of the story they wrote for me. I wasn't the backup plan, I wasn't the silent solution. I was the variable they never accounted for.